Daniel had never thought much about fate. His life had been quiet, predictable, and simple. He worked at a small bookstore in the heart of the city, a place with creaking wooden floors and shelves that smelled of old paper and dust. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady work, and it gave him a small sense of purpose. He liked helping customers find the right book, suggesting novels he had read himself, and sometimes just listening to their stories. The job didn't pay much, but it allowed him to live in a modest apartment nearby and to save a little for small pleasures, like a cup of good coffee or a warm meal at a local cafe. That afternoon, the city was unusually cold for spring. The wind cut through the narrow streets, making Daniel pull his jacket tighter around him. He decided to take a break from the bookstore and treat himself to a small lunch at a cafe he liked. The cafe was not fancy, but it had a cozy warmth to it. The smell of freshly baked bread and brewing coffee always drew him in. He enjoyed sitting by the window, watching people hurry past, wrapped in coats and scarves, oblivious to the small world inside. As Daniel entered the cafe, he noticed a young woman standing in line ahead of him. She looked worn out, as if the world had been heavy on her shoulders for a long time. Her clothes were simple, faded, and slightly too big, suggesting they had been worn often. Her hair was tied back loosely, and her eyes carried a tired, almost resigned look. Despite her appearance, there was a quiet dignity in the way she held herself, as if she refused to be completely beaten down by life. Daniel paid little attention at first, focusing on choosing what he would order. But as the line moved, he noticed the woman fumble with her wallet. She was counting coins slowly, her hands shaking slightly. Daniel couldn't hear what was being said at the counter, but he could see her lips moving nervously, and a faint look of worry crossed her face. Something in her struggle tugged at him. Without thinking too much, Daniel stepped forward. He placed his hand gently on the counter and said to the cashier, "I'll pay for her meal, please." The cashier looked up in surprise but nodded, quickly ringing up the transaction. Daniel didn't make a big deal of it. He paid and then moved to the side, pretending to be focused on his own order. The woman looked up, her eyes wide, and for a moment Daniel caught her expression. A mix of disbelief, relief, and gratitude. She wanted to say something, but words seemed to fail her. She looked around, searching for a way to thank him, but Daniel was already moving away, pretending to browse the small pastry section. He didn't wait for a conversation. In his mind, it was just a small act, something anyone could do if they had the chance. But the way she looked at him, even for a few seconds, made him feel that maybe, just maybe, he had done something meaningful. The woman, whose name was Lily, stood frozen for a moment. She had been living a difficult life, working part-time jobs to make ends meet while also attending night classes. Money was always tight, and every small expense felt like a burden. The kindness of a stranger paying for her meal was something she hadn't expected, and it filled her with a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. She wanted to speak, to ask why he had done it, but she could only manage a quiet thank you as she clutched her bag and sat down at a small corner table. Daniel chose a table near the window, taking out a small notebook from his jacket pocket. He'd like to jot down thoughts, ideas, and sometimes little sketches of the city, but even as he tried to focus on his writing, he kept sneaking glances at the young woman. There was something in her presence that felt familiar, comforting even, as if seeing her had stirred something deep within him. Lily, meanwhile, nibbled at her sandwich slowly, her mind racing. She had been so worried about how she would pay for her meal, and now she felt this strange mix of gratitude and curiosity. Who was this man who had done something so simple yet so meaningful? There was a humility in his actions that spoke volumes about his character. She made a mental note to remember him, wondering if fate would ever bring their paths together again. The cafe hummed with the quiet sound of conversation, the clinking of cups, and the occasional hiss of the espresso machine. Outside, the city moved quickly, but inside, time seemed to slow. Daniel sipped his coffee and tried to focus on the words he was writing, but his mind kept drifting back to the young woman. He wondered what her story was, what had led her to this small moment in the cafe, and why life seemed to weigh so heavily on her. For Daniel, it was a reminder of the small ways people could touch each other's lives. He didn't see himself as heroic or special. He simply did what he thought was right in that moment. But sometimes, he reflected, that was enough. A single act of kindness could ripple far beyond what anyone could imagine. After finishing his meal, Daniel packed his notebook and left the cafe. He didn't look back. but he carried with him a subtle sense of connection, a feeling that life had just whispered a gentle reminder of the importance of compassion. Lily, still sitting at her table, felt the same. She stared at the door for a long moment, hoping to catch a glimpse of him again, knowing that the memory of this small kindness would stay with her for a long time. Over the next few days, both Daniel and Lily returned to their routines, but neither could forget that brief encounter. Daniel continued to work at the bookstore, arranging books and helping customers, his mind occasionally wandering to the young woman in the cafe. He wondered what she was doing, if she had managed to pay for her meals since then, and if she was doing well despite the hardships he assumed she faced. Lily, on the other hand, thought about Daniel's act of kindness frequently. It wasn't just the money he had spent, it was the thought behind it, the willingness to help without expecting anything in return. She had encountered people who offered help only when it served them, but this had been different. This had been genuine. She began to feel a sense of hope that had been dormant for years. A tiny spark that reminded her that even in difficult times, there were still people who cared. The encounter, though brief, had left an invisible thread between them. Neither knew it yet, but this thread would pull their lives together in ways neither could have predicted. It was a quiet beginning, almost imperceptible, yet it held the promise of something greater. The city around them moved on, indifferent to the small drama of kindness and curiosity that had unfolded in a corner cafe. But for Daniel and Lily, that moment would become the starting point of a journey that would change both of their lives. As days turned into nights, and nights into days, the memory of that small act lingered. Daniel found himself smiling unexpectedly, recalling the look in Lily's eyes when she realized her meal had been paid for. He didn't understand why he felt this way. It was unlike him to be affected so deeply by a brief encounter, but there was something in her presence, even in memory alone, that felt comforting. Like a warm light cutting through the gray routine of everyday life, Lily, meanwhile, began to carry herself with a quiet confidence that had been missing before. Though her financial struggles continued, the reminder that kindness still existed in the world gave her strength. She moved through her days with a little more hope, a little more belief that good things could happen unexpectedly. And in her mind, Daniel was no longer just a stranger. He was a symbol of that hope, a reminder that even the smallest gestures could leave a lasting impression. Neither Daniel nor Lily realized it yet, but life had begun to weave their paths together. A simple act of paying for a meal had set off a chain of events that would lead to unexpected meetings, deep conversations, and eventually, a bond neither could have predicted. It was a story that began quietly, with no fanfare, but its impact would be profound, touching hearts and changing lives in ways that only time would reveal. And so, as the city continued its busy rhythm, Daniel and Lily carried the memory of that afternoon with them, unaware that this small, seemingly insignificant moment was the first chapter in a story that would bring them closer together than either could have imagined. The act of kindness, unremarkable to the world but extraordinary in its effect, had set the stage for something beautiful, waiting patiently for the right moment to unfold. Days passed after the cafe encounter, and Daniel found himself thinking about that brief moment more often than he expected. He couldn't explain why a small act of kindness lingered so persistently in his mind. Every time he saw someone struggling, he remembered the young woman with tired eyes and worn-out clothes counting coins at the counter. Something about her had struck a chord deep inside him. He continued with his life at the bookstore, helping customers and arranging shelves, but a quiet curiosity about her remained. Lily, on the other hand, could not stop thinking about Daniel either. The small gesture had left her feeling seen in a way she hadn't felt in years. She had always been careful with her interactions, wary of people who might judge her based on appearances or financial struggles. But Daniel's actions had been simple and pure. He had helped without asking for anything in return. That innocence and kindness stood out to her in a world that often felt harsh and indifferent. She returned to the cafe several times that week, hoping to catch another glimpse of him. Some days she saw other strangers. Some days the place was too crowded, but she never managed to find him. The memory of him stayed with her. Growing with each passing day, she would close her eyes at night, replaying the brief encounter in her mind, imagining what it would be like to know him better. Her curiosity was more than just gratitude. It was a quiet pull toward someone who had shown her that small kindness could still exist. Meanwhile, Daniel noticed subtle changes in his own routine. He found himself leaving the bookstore for lunch a little earlier, wandering the streets without any real destination, hoping for a chance to see her again. Sometimes he walked past the cafe, glancing inside to see if she was there. The thought of meeting her again filled him with a strange excitement he hadn't felt in years. It was different from infatuation. It was a deep, quiet curiosity about her life, her struggles, and her world. One evening, Daniel received a notice about a seminar on small business growth happening in a nearby community center. He decided to attend, hoping to learn something useful for his bookstore and maybe, unknowingly, hoping to stumble upon that familiar face. The seminar was filled with local entrepreneurs, investors, and people passionate about growing their businesses. Daniel listened attentively, jotting down notes when he noticed someone familiar sitting near the back. It was Lily. Lily had attended the seminar for different reasons. She had been quietly investing for several years, building her small fortune in the stock market while managing part-time jobs and studies. She had a keen eye for opportunities and had always been cautious about who she trusted with her knowledge. When she noticed Daniel among the attendees, she felt a flutter of recognition and relief. Here was the person who had shown her kindness without expectation, and now they were in the same place again. After the seminar ended, Lily gathered her courage and approached him. Daniel looked up, startled, then smiled as he realized who it was. Their conversation began awkwardly at first, with polite greetings and a few questions about the seminar, but quickly moved into sharing more personal stories. Daniel learned about the financial struggles Lily had faced, and Lily learned about the quiet life Daniel had built around his love for books and small pleasures. For both of them, the conversation felt natural and unforced. Daniel was struck by Lily's intelligence and confidence, qualities that seemed to contrast sharply with the tired appearance he had first seen at the cafe. She spoke about her investments not to boast, but to explain how she had managed to navigate difficult circumstances and create a sense of security for herself. Daniel admired her determination and clarity, feeling an unexpected respect for someone he had initially assumed was simply struggling to get by. As days turned into weeks, they continued to meet at the seminar, exchanging ideas and thoughts about business, life, and dreams. They discovered a shared love for learning and an appreciation for honesty in people. Daniel began to feel that Lily's presence was comforting in a way he couldn't quite describe. Her laughter, even in casual conversation, brought warmth to his otherwise routine days. Lily found herself looking forward to these meetings, not just for the exchange of knowledge, but for the sense of connection she felt with Daniel. He reminded her of the goodness that could exist in people, the kindness that often went unnoticed in a busy world. One afternoon, as they left the seminar together, Daniel suggested grabbing a coffee nearby. Lily agreed, and they walked down quiet streets, sharing stories about their lives, families, and childhood memories. Daniel spoke of his love for the bookstore, the customers he had grown to know, and the small joys he found in organizing shelves or recommending books. Lily listened intently, impressed by his dedication and the simplicity of his life. She shared her own experiences, the challenges of managing part-time work, studying late into the night, and cautiously investing in the stock market. She did not mention the extent of her wealth, not yet ready to reveal that aspect of her life. The conversation flowed easily, each story building a bridge between them. They laughed over small mishaps, nodded in understanding over shared frustrations, and discovered that their values aligned more than they had expected. Daniel realized that Lily's intelligence and calm strength were paired with a humility that made her even more admirable. Lily found that Daniel's kindness and quiet sincerity were rare traits, ones she had longed to encounter in someone she could trust and connect with. As the weeks passed, their meetings became more frequent, extending beyond seminars. They explored local bookstores, cafes, and parks, sometimes simply walking together without a clear destination, enjoying each other's company. Daniel learned to appreciate the depth of Lily's character, seeing beyond the initial appearance of struggle to the brilliance and resilience within. Lily, in turn, learned to enjoy the simplicity of Daniel's world, realizing that life's small pleasures could bring as much joy as grand achievements. During one of their walks, Lily confided in Daniel about her dreams of making a meaningful impact on her community, using her knowledge of finance and investment to help others achieve stability. Daniel listened, fascinated by her vision and ambition. He admired her foresight and her desire to give back, seeing that her intelligence was matched by a generous heart. This further deepened his respect and connection to her. Daniel found himself opening up about his own fears and aspirations. He shared moments of doubt about the bookstore's future and his uncertainty about pursuing larger goals. Lily offered encouragement not in a condescending way, but as a thoughtful and supportive friend. Her insights and perspective provided him with clarity and motivation he hadn't realized he needed. The balance of giving and receiving support created a natural bond between them, one built on mutual respect and understanding. One rainy afternoon, as they took shelter in a small cafe, their conversation drifted toward more personal matters. They discussed family, past relationships, and the values they held dear. Daniel discovered that Lily had experienced hardships that had shaped her resilience and empathy. He was moved by her openness and honesty, sensing that she had chosen to share this part of herself with him because she trusted him. Lily, in turn, saw in Daniel a kind of patience and gentleness that made it easy for her to be vulnerable. The walls she had built around herself began to soften, allowing for a deeper connection to take root. Their friendship continued to grow, characterized by shared laughter, meaningful conversations, and moments of quiet reflection. Daniel's admiration for Lily's intellect and determination strengthened, while Lily's appreciation for Daniel's unwavering kindness and authenticity deepened. Each interaction left them feeling enriched and inspired, as if they had found in each other a kindred spirit who understood and valued them for who they truly were. As the days turned into weeks, both Daniel and Lily began to notice subtle changes in themselves. Daniel found himself more optimistic and motivated, encouraged by Lily's ambition and clarity. Lily felt a renewed sense of hope and confidence, inspired by Daniel's integrity and genuine care. Their connection, though still in its early stages, was becoming an essential part of their lives, shaping their thoughts, actions, and perspectives. One evening, after a particularly engaging seminar, they decided to take a walk along the quiet streets illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. The conversation flowed effortlessly, touching on dreams, fears, and the simple joys of life. Daniel realized that he was looking forward to these moments more than anything else in his daily routine. Lily sensed the same anticipation, feeling a sense of comfort and excitement in Daniel's presence. By the end of the evening, as they parted ways, both Daniel and Lily carried a quiet awareness that something significant was beginning to unfold between them. It wasn't love yet, not in the traditional sense, but it was a connection built on respect, admiration, and genuine care. The memory of that first cafe encounter, where a small act of kindness had sparked an unexpected bond, continued to linger in their minds, reminding them that sometimes life's most meaningful relationships begin with the simplest gestures. Unseen by either of them, the invisible thread that had started with a small act of generosity was now weaving a complex pattern, gently guiding their lives closer together. Each conversation, each shared moment was a stitch in the fabric of a story that would soon grow into something profound. For now, they simply cherished the growing connection, unaware of the journey that awaited them, yet trusting in some small way that fate had more in store. As the days passed, Daniel and Lily's connection deepened naturally. Their conversations became more personal, moving beyond books, seminars, and career goals. They began sharing pieces of their pasts, little anecdotes and memories that had shaped who they were. Daniel told Lily about growing up in a small town, helping his parents with a family shop, and learning the value of honesty and hard work from a young age. He spoke of his love for quiet moments, the smell of old pages, and the satisfaction of helping someone discover the perfect book. Lily, in turn, shared the struggles she had faced while trying to balance part-time jobs, her studies, and the early challenges of investing. She spoke of nights spent studying by dim light, of sacrifices she had made to keep moving forward, and of the hope she carried despite the hardships. She didn't reveal all of her successes just yet, keeping the true extent of her financial achievements private. There was a delicate comfort in these exchanges, a trust growing between them with every word. One afternoon, Daniel invited Lily to his favorite part of the city, a small, tucked-away park where the old trees created a canopy of shade, and the sound of birds was louder than the distant traffic. They sat on a worn wooden bench, sipping warm drinks from a nearby stall, and watched the world move around them. It was peaceful, a quiet escape from the constant rush of life. Daniel felt relaxed in her presence, and Lily felt the weight of her worries ease, if only slightly. This shared quiet gave them space to just be themselves without any pretense. Lily started to notice small things about Daniel that she hadn't before. The way he listened intently when she spoke, the gentle expressions that crossed his face, the way he seemed to care about the little things she mentioned. He had a rare patience, a quiet strength that made her feel safe and understood. Daniel, on the other hand, found himself captivated by her intelligence, the way she analyzed situations with clarity and depth. Her kindness was paired with a sharp mind, and he respected her more with each conversation. One evening, they attended a small community event organized to support local businesses. It was crowded, lively, and full of people from various walks of life. Daniel and Lily wandered among the stalls, sampling food, watching local artists perform, and talking about the challenges of entrepreneurship. Daniel admired Lily's ability to connect with people, to ask thoughtful questions, and to offer encouragement where needed. Lily, in turn, appreciated how Daniel treated everyone with respect and genuine interest, never putting on airs or pretending to be more than he was. During this event, a small incident occurred that brought them even closer. A young boy dropped his ice cream cone and started to cry, and without hesitation, Lily knelt down and comforted him. She offered him a napkin to clean himself and a few kind words that calmed him down. Daniel watched, silently impressed, as her natural compassion shone through. He realized that her kindness extended far beyond herself, touching the lives of strangers in ways he had not yet seen. It reminded him of the first day he met her at the cafe, and he felt a deeper admiration for her character. As their friendship continued to grow, Daniel began to notice feelings developing that went beyond simple companionship. He found himself thinking about Lily when she wasn't around, wondering how her day was going and hoping she was safe and happy. He felt a warmth in his chest whenever she smiled or laughed, a feeling that was both exciting and terrifying. He had never experienced this intensity before, and he wasn't sure what to do with it. He feared that acknowledging these feelings might change their relationship, yet he couldn't ignore them. Lily, too, began to recognize a shift in her own emotions. She enjoyed Daniel's presence more than she expected, and she found herself looking forward to their meetings with a sense of anticipation. She felt understood in a way she rarely did, and his gentle nature made it easy for her to open up. Yet she also felt a sense of caution, aware that her past experiences had taught her to be careful with her heart. Despite that, she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him, the curiosity about what this growing bond might mean. One rainy afternoon, as they walked together under a shared umbrella, Daniel suggested they take shelter in a small cafe he had noticed earlier. The rain created a cozy atmosphere, and the sound of droplets hitting the roof added a rhythmic comfort to the space. They found a quiet table in the corner, and their conversation naturally turned to their dreams and aspirations. Daniel spoke about his desire to expand the bookstore, to create a space where people could not only find books but also share stories and ideas. Lily listened attentively, offering suggestions and encouragement, while also sharing her own ambitions for the future. She spoke about her desire to use her knowledge of investing to help others achieve financial stability. Her tone was measured and thoughtful, revealing a deep sense of responsibility and empathy. Daniel admired her vision and dedication, realizing that her strength was matched by a desire to make a positive impact. He felt inspired by her ambition, and it gave him a sense of purpose he hadn't anticipated. For the first time in a long while, he imagined a future that could be larger and more meaningful than he had dared to hope. Their conversations often lingered long after they left the cafe, as they walked through the quiet streets, sharing observations about life, people, and the small moments that made days memorable. They discovered that they shared many values: honesty, kindness, and a desire to make the world a little better in their own ways. These shared values formed the foundation of a growing trust and connection that neither could ignore. As they spent more time together, subtle gestures began to reveal their feelings without the need for words. Daniel found himself offering his coat when Lily felt cold, standing a little closer to her when walking together, and listening more intently to her thoughts. Lily, in turn, noticed herself seeking his opinion, leaning slightly toward him during conversations and feeling a comforting warmth in his presence. These small, almost unconscious actions reflected the growing bond between them. One evening, they decided to visit a local gallery that had recently opened. The gallery was small but charming, filled with paintings and sculptures created by local artists. As they wandered among the exhibits, they shared their impressions, discussing the emotions each piece evoked. Daniel admired Lily's insights and her ability to see beyond the surface, to understand the deeper meaning behind each work of art. Lily, in turn, appreciated Daniel's perspective, noting how his observations were thoughtful and sincere. By the time they left the gallery, the sky had darkened and the streets were quiet. They walked side by side, occasionally sharing a smile or a comment about the city around them. The comfort and ease between them had grown into something more substantial, a silent understanding that their connection was becoming an important part of their lives. Yet neither had confessed the depth of their feelings, both unsure how the other might react. As the weeks turned into months, Daniel and Lily continued to nurture their bond. They explored the city together, attended seminars, and shared countless conversations that strengthened their trust and understanding. Each encounter revealed new layers of their personalities, deepening the appreciation they had for one another. Daniel began to see Lily not just as a kind and intelligent woman, but as someone he could envision a future with. Lily, in turn, recognized that Daniel's integrity, compassion, and genuine care were qualities she deeply valued and admired. During one particularly quiet evening, they sat on a bench overlooking the city skyline, sharing a moment of silence. The lights of the city twinkled below them, reflecting in their eyes as they talked about the small, meaningful moments that made life beautiful. Daniel realized that he had grown attached to Lily in ways he hadn't expected. Her presence had become a source of comfort and inspiration, and he felt a strong desire to be part of her life in a deeper way. Lily felt the same pull, though she was cautious. She had learned to protect her heart, yet Daniel's sincerity and patience made it easy to let her guard down. She found herself imagining a future where he was not just a friend or companion, but someone who could share life's joys and challenges alongside her. The realization filled her with a quiet excitement, tempered by the awareness that this connection had developed gradually, with care and respect. By the end of that evening, both Daniel and Lily carried a growing awareness that their relationship was evolving into something meaningful. It was a connection built on trust, admiration, and shared values, a bond that had begun with a simple act of kindness and had grown through understanding and mutual respect. They were still discovering the depth of their feelings, yet the foundation had been laid for something that could transform both of their lives. The invisible thread that began in a small cafe was now stronger, pulling them closer together with each passing day, promising a story that was only just beginning to unfold. Weeks had passed since Daniel and Lily first met at the seminar, and their connection had grown in ways neither of them had anticipated. They met frequently, sharing long walks, discussions, and quiet moments that allowed them to understand each other deeply. Their relationship had developed without the rush of expectation, building slowly on mutual respect, trust, and shared values. The comfort they found in each other's presence was becoming increasingly important, forming a quiet yet powerful bond. One afternoon, Lily suggested visiting a local charity she supported, a place where she helped disadvantaged youth learn basic financial literacy and confidence skills. Daniel had always admired her drive to give back, but seeing her in action was different from hearing about it. Lily's interaction with the children revealed a warmth and patience that went beyond the intelligence Daniel had already admired. She explained concepts carefully, listened attentively to each child's questions, and encouraged them to think critically about their choices. Daniel felt a deep sense of respect for her, understanding that her kindness extended far beyond what most people saw. After leaving the charity, they walked through the city streets discussing the importance of giving back and the different ways people could make a meaningful impact. Daniel was inspired by Lily's perspective, and it made him reflect on how he wanted to contribute more actively in his own way. He felt fortunate to have someone like Lily in his life, someone who challenged him to think beyond himself while also providing encouragement and support. Over the next few days, their conversations began to touch more on personal ambitions, dreams, and fears. Daniel shared his thoughts about expanding the bookstore, creating a community space where people could not only find books, but also share stories, ideas, and experiences. Lily listened intently, offering practical suggestions and encouragement. She admired his vision and dedication, seeing how deeply he cared about the impact of his work. Daniel, in turn, was inspired by her thoughtful approach to challenges and her ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. One evening, as they strolled along a quiet riverside, Daniel noticed Lily looking pensive. He asked her gently what was on her mind. She paused, then spoke about the financial struggles she had faced while trying to support herself through part-time jobs and studies. She explained how difficult it had been to balance responsibilities, and how she had learned to be resourceful and resilient. Daniel listened quietly, feeling a mix of admiration and concern. He realized that Lily's strength came not only from intelligence, but also from the courage to face challenges head-on. As they walked, Lily mentioned her investments in the stock market, explaining that she had been able to save and grow some financial security over the years. Daniel was surprised but impressed, realizing that she had managed to create a stable foundation despite the difficulties she had faced. What struck him most was that she did not boast about her accomplishments. She spoke matter-of-factly, with humility and honesty. This reinforced the respect he felt for her, deepening his admiration and affection. Their bond continued to strengthen as they spent more time together, and Daniel found himself noticing small things that made him care even more. The way Lily's eyes lit up when she talked about a new idea, the quiet determination in her voice, the gentle laughter that seemed to brighten even the most ordinary moments. Each detail drew him closer to her. Lily, too, felt a growing attachment to Daniel, appreciating his integrity, thoughtfulness, and the calm presence he provided. Being around him was comforting, and she began to realize that her feelings were evolving beyond simple friendship. One evening, after attending a local art exhibit, they found themselves sitting on a bench overlooking the city skyline. The lights reflected in the river below, creating a serene and peaceful atmosphere. Their conversation turned toward dreams and possibilities, and Daniel spoke candidly about his hopes for the future. Lily shared her own aspirations, emphasizing the importance of using her skills and resources to help others while also pursuing personal growth. They discovered that their values aligned closely, and the sense of shared purpose strengthened the bond between them. Days later, Daniel noticed a shift in his emotions. He found himself thinking about Lily constantly, wondering how her day had gone and hoping she was safe and happy. He realized that he cared deeply for her, and the thought of her being part of his life in a more meaningful way filled him with warmth and excitement. Yet he hesitated to express these feelings, unsure how she might respond and not wanting to jeopardize the trust and connection they had built. Lily, too, recognized that her feelings were growing stronger. She admired Daniel's kindness, honesty, and quiet strength, and she found herself imagining a future that included him in ways she hadn't considered before. There was a sense of anticipation and hope that made her heart beat a little faster whenever she thought of him. She was aware of the care and trust that had developed between them, and felt a deep sense of comfort and security in his presence. Yet she also felt a need for caution, wanting to ensure that the bond they shared was built on mutual respect and understanding. One rainy afternoon, they found themselves seeking shelter in a small cafe. The rain created a cozy atmosphere, and the sound of droplets tapping against the roof added a comforting rhythm to the room. They sat at a corner table, sharing a quiet drink and talking about their experiences over the past months. Daniel noticed that Lily seemed more relaxed than usual, and he realized that their time together had created a safe space for her to be herself. He felt a growing responsibility to protect and cherish that trust, knowing how rare it was to find such a genuine connection. During their conversation, Lily revealed more about her investments, carefully explaining the strategies she had used to grow her savings. Daniel listened with genuine interest, impressed by her discipline and foresight. He realized that her intelligence and resourcefulness were complemented by a deep sense of empathy and responsibility. Lily's humility and generosity of spirit made him feel grateful to have her in his life, and he quietly admired her resilience and determination. Their interactions continued to deepen, with each meeting reinforcing the trust and understanding that had developed between them. Daniel found himself becoming more attentive, noticing the little details that brought Lily joy and comfort. He offered support in subtle ways, whether it was suggesting a new book she might enjoy, sharing a warm drink on a chilly day, or simply listening when she needed to talk. Lily, in turn, appreciated his thoughtfulness and began to rely on his presence for reassurance and encouragement. One afternoon, Daniel invited Lily to a quiet spot in the park he often visited. They sat on a bench surrounded by blooming flowers and tall trees, enjoying the tranquility of the space. Their conversation flowed naturally, touching on personal memories, hopes, and reflections. Daniel shared moments from his childhood, the lessons he had learned, and the values that guided his decisions. Lily listened with interest and empathy, offering insights and encouragement that reflected her own experiences and wisdom. As the conversation unfolded, Daniel began to sense that the connection between them was evolving into something deeper. He felt a growing desire to be part of her life in a more meaningful way, to share experiences, dreams, and challenges together. Lily, too, felt a subtle shift in her emotions, recognizing the importance of Daniel's presence and the comfort and inspiration it provided. They both realized that their bond was becoming a central part of their lives, shaping their perspectives and influencing their decisions. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Lily continued to explore the city together, attend events, and share quiet moments that strengthened their connection. Each interaction revealed new facets of their personalities, deepening their appreciation for one another. Daniel admired Lily's courage, intelligence, and generosity, while Lily valued Daniel's integrity, thoughtfulness, and calm strength. The balance of admiration, trust, and mutual support created a relationship that felt both natural and profound. One evening, as they walked along a familiar path by the river, Daniel felt a strong sense of clarity about his feelings. He realized that he was in love with Lily, not because of her accomplishments or intelligence, but because of the person she was at her core. Her kindness, resilience, and authenticity had touched him in ways he hadn't experienced before. Lily, sensing a similar depth of emotion in Daniel, felt a quiet excitement mixed with anticipation. She recognized that their bond was unique, built on genuine understanding and respect, and she felt ready to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. The invisible thread that had begun with a simple act of kindness at a cafe had grown stronger over time, guiding their lives closer together. Each shared moment, conversation, and gesture had reinforced the connection between them, creating a foundation of trust, admiration, and affection. As they walked side by side, the world around them seemed to fade, leaving only the sense of belonging and understanding that existed between them. They were beginning to realize that the story they were living was one of care, growth, and the potential for something extraordinary, and that the journey ahead held the promise of love, partnership, and shared dreams. Daniel and Lily had spent months growing closer, their bond deepening with every conversation, every shared moment, and every quiet gesture of care. The invisible thread that began with a small act of kindness at a cafe had now become a strong connection, tying their lives together in a way neither could have predicted. They had shared stories, explored the city, attended seminars, and discovered the comfort and joy of being with someone who truly understood them. The time had come for the next chapter in their story, one where feelings that had quietly grown would find their expression. One sunny afternoon, Daniel suggested they visit a quiet botanical garden at the edge of the city. It was a place he often went alone to think and write, but he wanted to share it with Lily, knowing she would appreciate the calm and beauty. As they walked along the winding paths surrounded by flowers in full bloom, Daniel felt a nervous excitement. He wanted to tell Lily how much she had come to mean to him, but he also feared disrupting the careful balance of their friendship. He noticed the way she admired the roses, how her eyes lingered on the delicate petals, and he felt a swell of affection in his chest. They found a secluded bench near a small pond, where the water reflected the clear sky and colorful blossoms around them. They sat together in comfortable silence, the kind that spoke volumes without words. Daniel took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice slightly shaky but earnest. He told Lily how much he admired her strength, her intelligence, and the kindness she showed to everyone around her. He spoke about how she had inspired him, how her presence had brought a new sense of purpose and warmth into his life. Lily listened, her eyes glistening with emotion, feeling the weight of his words and the sincerity behind them. After a pause, Daniel finally admitted what he had been feeling for weeks, how he realized he was in love with her. He explained that it was not her success or intelligence alone, but the way she approached life, the empathy she carried, and the genuine heart she had. Lily felt a rush of relief and joy, realizing that she felt the same way. She confessed that she had been drawn to him from the moment he paid for her meal, captivated by his kindness and authenticity. The moment was quiet, tender, and profound, a culmination of months of growing closeness and understanding. From that day forward, their relationship entered a new phase. They moved from friendship to partnership, exploring the possibilities of life together. Daniel introduced Lily to the bookstore community he cherished, and she encouraged him to dream bigger, helping him see ways to expand his passion into a place that could bring joy and inspiration to more people. Lily shared her financial knowledge and experiences, guiding Daniel in managing small investments that could support his vision for the future. Their collaboration was seamless, each contributing in ways that complemented the other. They spent time together not only in work and shared projects, but also in small, meaningful moments that strengthened their bond. Early morning walks, quiet coffee breaks, evenings spent reading side by side, and spontaneous trips to discover hidden parts of the city became cherished routines. Each experience deepened their connection, reinforcing the understanding and trust they had built over months. Daniel felt a deep sense of gratitude for having Lily in his life, while Lily cherished Daniel's unwavering kindness and sincerity. As they grew closer, Daniel became increasingly aware of the importance of balancing their personal growth with their shared future. He encouraged Lily to pursue her ambitions, knowing that her intellect and drive were a vital part of who she was. He supported her decisions, celebrated her successes, and offered comfort during challenges. Lily, in turn, nurtured Daniel's dreams, providing thoughtful guidance and reassurance. Their partnership was a blend of love, respect, and mutual support, creating a foundation that felt both strong and enduring. One weekend, Daniel planned a small surprise for Lily. He invited her to a quiet spot on the outskirts of the city, where a picnic awaited under the shade of a large oak tree. The basket was filled with her favorite foods, and a blanket was spread neatly on the grass. Lily arrived surprised and delighted, feeling the warmth of his thoughtfulness. They spent the day talking, laughing, and sharing dreams for the future. The simplicity of the moment reflected the essence of their relationship. Gentle, sincere, and deeply connected. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Daniel reached for Lily's hand. He spoke about the journey they had shared, from the small act of kindness at the cafe to the deep bond they now enjoyed. He expressed his desire to continue building a life together, one filled with mutual respect, support, and love. Lily, moved by his words, felt an overwhelming sense of certainty that she wanted to be with him, to share both the joys and challenges of life as partners. In the following weeks, they continued to explore their relationship, learning more about each other and finding joy in both ordinary and extraordinary moments. They faced challenges together, supporting one another through stressful situations, difficult decisions, and the occasional misunderstandings that naturally arise in any close relationship. Each experience strengthened their trust, demonstrating that their connection was resilient and capable of enduring life's ups and downs. Daniel introduced Lily to his family and friends, who were immediately charmed by her warmth, intelligence, and humility. She, in turn, shared her story with those closest to her, revealing not just her successes but the values and experiences that had shaped her character. Both realized that their relationship had created a space where they could be fully themselves, without judgment or pretense, fostering growth and mutual respect. As time went on, Daniel and Lily began making plans for a future together. They discussed shared goals, including expanding the bookstore into a community space that could host events, book clubs, and workshops. Lily contributed her financial knowledge and strategic thinking, ensuring that the plans were realistic and sustainable. Their collaboration was seamless, each drawing inspiration from the other's strengths and perspectives. Beyond professional aspirations, they also dreamed of building a home filled with love, warmth, and support for one another. Throughout this journey, they never forgot the small moments that had brought them together, the chance encounter at the cafe, the shared walks, the quiet conversations, and the acts of kindness that had set the foundation for their bond. These memories served as reminders of how meaningful their relationship had become, highlighting the power of empathy, compassion, and connection in shaping lives. Daniel often reflected on how a single gesture of generosity had led to this profound partnership. grateful for the unexpected path that had brought Lily into his life. In quiet moments, they would sit together, holding hands, sharing dreams, and planning their days. Their love was a blend of patience, understanding, and genuine admiration. Each day reinforced their commitment to one another, a bond built not only on affection but also on shared values, respect, and the desire to grow together. They celebrated each other's achievements, comforted each other during setbacks, and found joy in the simple presence of one another. Eventually, Daniel and Lily decided to take the next step in their journey together. They planned a small, intimate ceremony surrounded by close friends and family, celebrating not just their love but the shared journey that had brought them together. The day was filled with laughter, heartfelt vows, and the quiet certainty that they had found something rare and extraordinary. Their story, which began with a single act of kindness, had blossomed into a life built on trust, respect, and enduring love. As they embarked on this new chapter, Daniel and Lily continued to cherish the values that had shaped their relationship: honesty, empathy, and generosity. They remained committed to supporting one another's dreams, celebrating small victories, and creating a life rich with meaning and joy. Their bond was a testament to the power of simple gestures, the beauty of human connection, and the extraordinary potential of love that grows from kindness. The story of Daniel and Lily serves as a reminder that even the smallest acts can change lives in profound ways. From a simple meal paid in a cafe to the deep, lasting partnership they built, their journey illustrates how empathy, trust, and understanding can create a foundation for enduring love. They discovered that life's most meaningful connections often emerge from moments of genuine care, and that when two people find each other through kindness, the possibilities are limitless. Their love was not just a result of chance, but of intentional acts, mutual respect, and a shared commitment to nurturing one another through life's journey. And in that love, they found not just companionship, but a life filled with hope, warmth, and the quiet joy of being truly seen and valued. Months had passed since Daniel and Lily had officially acknowledged their feelings and taken steps to build a life together. Their relationship, founded on kindness, mutual respect, and shared dreams, had become a cornerstone in both of their lives. Even in everyday moments, they found joy in each other's company, from sharing breakfast in the soft morning light to working together on projects they were passionate about. They had grown into a rhythm that was natural and comforting, each step forward guided by trust and care. Daniel had begun turning the bookstore into more than a place for books. Inspired by Lily's ideas and his own love for community, he started organizing small gatherings where people could come and share stories, participate in workshops, or simply sit quietly and read. Lily helped by managing the planning and logistics, bringing her financial insight to ensure everything ran smoothly. Daniel was amazed by how seamlessly she combined her intellect with a gentle touch, creating spaces where people felt welcome and valued. Their collaboration became a reflection of their relationship, balanced, thoughtful, and full of purpose.